Hi everyone, this is Erica from Gokche Capital, and today we have a new video for you.
Now before I begin, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications. Are you looking to live off-grid and not sure if a well is a feasible option? Well, stick with me because I'm going to show you 3 ways that you can get water without a well. Number 1, self-haul. This is when you haul water yourself using a mobile tank from the nearest public water station or other water source. So this is a fairly simple option and relatively low cost depending on the rig you set up, but it does have a few downsides. For one, it is labor intensive, and depending on whether you are living full-time on the property or not and what your water needs are, you may find yourself hauling water several times a week. You may also struggle if the weather or road conditions are bad and find yourself unable to get water at certain times of the year. In addition, it's important to keep in mind that you may need to filter the water that you haul depending on what the source is. Now, there are 2 primary methods you can use. First is to simply boil the water. Now, this is the old-fashioned method and is good for killing many strains of bacteria, but it will not remove most heavy metal or chemical contaminants. So, depending on the water source, boiling by itself is not necessarily a fully effective option. This is why you almost always want to make sure your water is filtered in some capacity beyond simple boiling. Now, these days there are a number of water filter options on the market. These range from pitcher water filters to under-the-counter systems that directly filter water as it flows to your faucet. So depending on your setup, you'll need to consider the kind of filter that will work for you. But perhaps even more importantly, once you have figured out the kind of filter that will work, you also want to check which contaminants the filter you are selecting can remove. So read your selected filter's specifications thoroughly and understand what it is you will be protected from. You may also want to look at CDC's website. They have some helpful articles on choosing home water filters and other water treatment systems. Number 2, water haul services. These are third-party services that will haul water to your house for you. This is one of the most reliable options in the absence of a well, and probably one of the most common you will see for folks living full-time on a property without a well. Having said that, water haul services are not available everywhere. The more remote your property, the less likely you will be able to find one. So before buying a property or starting a homestead under the assumption that you will be using a water haul service, first check to see if one is available in your area. Also keep in mind that a water haul service is one of the most expensive options. After all, you need to pay for the service itself, but you will also need to expend a certain amount of money upfront in order to install a cistern or storage tank on your property, as well as an appropriate distribution system. The cost of this upfront infrastructure will vary based on the specifics of your property and your location. It can range anywhere from $2,000 to $20,000, and the variation is largely due to the difference in cost between an underground tank and an above-ground tank. Above-ground tanks are less expensive, but are also more prone to damage and contamination. And also, if you are in an area that freezes in the winter, an above-ground tank may not be an option unless it is in a weatherized shed or container. Number 3, rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting is an increasingly popular way of getting water, and many people use it as a supplement to public water or well water. But there are a few things you should know about rainwater harvesting. First, it may not be allowed depending on the building and public health regulations in your area, or there may be requirements on how the system is to be installed and filtered. So before thinking about rainwater harvesting, the first thing you want to do is contact your county building department and also environmental health department to see what kinds of regulations they have. The other thing to keep in mind with rainwater harvesting is that it is an unreliable resource, and in some parts of the country, particularly the more arid regions, you may not be able to realistically collect enough water to meet all of your needs. So if you're considering rainwater harvesting, you'll first want to do some basic calculations to determine the volume of water you can expect to collect via rainwater harvesting, and then plan for alternative ways of collecting water if necessary. Now, to estimate how many gallons of water you'll be able to collect each month, you can use a basic formula which multiplies your catchment area by your projected monthly rainfall, and which also factors in a conversion and collection factor. For help on figuring out each of these numbers, you can check out the Texas Manual on Rainwater Harvesting, or you can look at our blog post on getting water without a well. You may also want to consider having an engineer help you plan your rainwater system. At this point, you may be wondering, what is the best option for me? Well, there's no hard and fast rule. It really depends on your needs and location. If you are in a remote area and there are no water haul services available, then you will have to rely on self-hauling and rainwater catching. Conversely, if you're in an arid location, rainwater harvesting is likely not going to be able to meet all of your needs. Ultimately, you may want to try a combination of these methods. Of course, it may simply be easier to look for homesteading land where you are able to drill a well. And if you already are homesteading and are supplying your water needs without a well, share your story with us in the comments. If you like this video and are looking to buy land, you're going to love our Gokche Land Due Diligence program. It'll make you a land due diligence expert in 7 days. And you can check it out at gokchecapital.com/glad. Don't forget to look at our inventory of $1 down properties at gokchecapital.com/listings. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email, call, or text, and we will respond as soon as possible. So thank you for listening, and more to come.